Topic: Irrigation and water supply. At the end of this lesson you should be able to understand the following concepts: irrigation scheduling, reason, method, soil moisture measurement techniques and equipment used in conjunction with efficient water scheduling, soil water potential, soil moisture content, septic tank. Introduction. Learning content covered in grade 12 terms 1 and 2. Safety, structural material, energy, construction process, tools, equipment and systems. Concepts and skills. Irrigation scheduling https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=VJOGCK8WBKM. Irrigation scheduling is the process used by irrigation managers to control the application of water correctly. The purpose of irrigation scheduling is to apply enough water until the plant's roots are properly wet, but at the same time not waste water and then allow the soil to dry between applications so that air can enter the soil, but not so much that the plant stresses. Effective irrigation scheduling. Introduction. Irrigation scheduling consists of applying the right amount of water at the right time. With potatoes, farmers have disadvantages that include: too little water leads to a loss of grade, quality and contract price. Too much water leads to a loss of water, electricity for pump, leaching of nitrogen and waste of time. It also increases nitrogen requirements in the crops, fertilizer cost and nitrogen loss to soil water. Land losses can be remedied. Too little or too much water can occur on a particular land in the same season. Scheduling methods. Farmers irrigate using one of the following criteria: intuition, calendar days from last rainfall or irrigation, evaporation transpiration in crops, soil water. Measurement of soil water or evaporation transpiration provides criteria for irrigation management. Evaporation transpiration is a flashy word used for the wasteful use of water. Soil water measurement techniques. Soil water can be measured by methods that can determine the soil water content and soil water potential. Soil water content is the amount of water per soil volume or the weight of dry soil. Soil water potential is the force required to remove the next water application from the soil. Soil water tension/stress measurement. Tensiometers https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=4 The measurement of soil water stress with tension meters or granular matrix sensors provides a measurement analog for the force required to extract water from the soil. The power is transferred from the atmosphere through the plant to the roots. Briefly describe water scheduling and give reasons for its use. It is the process used by irrigation managers to determine if the right amount of water is being applied for the right time. Save water. Not too little water. Not too much water. Name the equipment that can be used to determine or measure evaporation in a country. Evaporation pan. Measurement of soil moisture. It is important to know the soil moisture condition so that the grower can irrigate the plant at the right time to ensure that the required amount of moisture is in the soil for the plant's roots. Methods to measure soil moisture. To measure the soil moisture and ensure that the crops do not tolerate unnecessary stress and the producer suffers loss of production due to a shortage of available water in the soil for sustainable growth of plants. Different methods and tools are used to monitor, and the most commonly used for irrigation scheduling are the following: the neutron probe meter, gypsum block, tensiometer or aerometer, feel and appearance method, time domain reflectometry (TDR) probe. The neutron probe https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=FAJQCJTFBVK. The neutron probe measures soil moisture by dispersing neutrons in the surrounding soil. The instrument consists of a probe on the front of a cable connected to the meter box. The probe contains a fast neutron source, which may be a mixture of radium and beryllium or americanum and beryllium. Aluminum access tubes from 500 mm to 1000 mm long and 32 mm in diameter with closed bases are placed in the country where the readings are to be taken. For shallow-rooted and annual crops, shorter tubes will be used than for deep-rooted or perennial, long-term crops. The neutron probe is lowered into the access tube to the desired depth and fast neutrons are released. The neutrons then disperse into the ground. When these neutrons encounter the hydrogen atom of water, the speed of the neutrons is reduced and the rate meter counts the number of slower neutrons. The number of slower neutrons is proportional to the water molecules in the surrounding soil. By entering this information into the software, the moisture content of the soil becomes clear from a calibration curve indicating the counts of the slower neutrons. Advantages. Measurements are fast and continuous. The use of the neutron probe does not cause the soil to be disturbed. And a larger area, 200 mm to 400 mm around the pin tubes, than with other methods can be measured. Disadvantages. Using a neutron probe is expensive, uses a radioactive source and requires regular maintenance by specialized personnel. An accurate reading of the soil moisture of shallow soil is problematic because the fast neutrons can be delayed by other hydrogen atoms in organic matter, as well as atoms of trace elements normally present in the upper 200 mm soil. This causes the overestimation of soil moisture present. Gypsum, clay or burnt gypsum blocks. These rectangular resistance blocks are approximately 550 mm long, 375 mm wide and 20 mm thick. Gypsum, clay or burnt gypsum blocks are used to measure soil moisture by placing the blocks in the exact place where the soil moisture is to be measured and monitored. A pair of electrodes built into the blocks 20 mm apart. This method works on the conduction of electricity. When an electric current is sent through the two electrodes, the resistance to the flow of the electric current is proportional to the moisture content of the block. If the block is wet, the conductivity is high and the resistance is therefore low. Generally, the electrodes read about 400 to 600 ohms resistance at field capacity and about 50,000 at wilting point, when a plant can no longer extract the desired water from the ground to maintain itself. The lectures are done with a wheatstone bridge because water bridge with dry cells. Place the gypsum block in undisturbed soil. Disadvantages. Gypsum blocks are not very reliable in wet soil. Tensiometer/aerometer. A tensiometer is an instrument that measures the tension at which water is held in the ground. It consists, at the tip, of an 8 cm ceramic or clay container attached to a protective metal or glass tube with a vacuum gauge at the top. The system is filled with water from an opening at the top of the tube and will saturate the porous clay tip. It is then corked by the vacuum meter when placed in the ground. Install the tensiometer by drilling a hole that is just wide enough so that the tube can be placed in the active root area of the crop. There should be no air gaps around the tip or tube. It should fit snugly. Moisture will be drawn out of the container as the soil around it dries. This creates a vacuum in the tube that is measured by the meter. Once the desired voltage is reached, the soil should be watered. The vacuum meter indicates the voltage values up to 1 atmosphere, but only reads up to 0.8 atmospheres. Advantages. A tensiometer is simple and easy to install so that soil moisture can be read in situ. It is useful for scheduling the irrigation of crops that often need to be watered at low stress. Disadvantages. Sensitivity of a tensiometer is only up to 0.85 atmospheres, while available soil moisture can be up to 1 atmosphere. A tensiometer is also more accurate in sandy soils than in heavy clay soils. Feel and appearance method https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=7yakp_gqeaa. If none of the above methods are available, this practical estimate of soil moisture can be used as a last resort. Soil of samples taken from the desired depths is pressed by hand and how it feels and what it looks like is taken into account. A disadvantage is that accurate, actual soil moisture measurement is not possible with this method. Time domain reflectometry, TDR, probes. Understand septic drains. https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=3DWG-L4STE. What is a septic tank? The septic tank serves as a settling tank where solids are collected and gradually broken down by microbial action. Certain of the solids are converted to liquids by the natural bacterial decomposition, although the remaining waste collects at the bottom as a layer of sludge. Additionally, a small percentage of the waste, mostly fats and oils, will be at the top of the bowl, tank, floats and forms a semi-solid foam. How does a septic tank work? The population in metropolitan areas, who have never had the experience to maintain a septic tank not or to pump the system empty again, will just pull their toilets. Those of us who live in more rural areas have been forced to learn more about maintenance and operation of the sewage treatment unit that is connected to our homes, namely the septic system. Usually a septic tank is connected to a drainage unit or leaching well of some kind. As properly maintained will keep a well-designed system almost forever. However, if it does not get the attention it needs, it can clog the drainage unit. This negligence can lead to costly maintenance and repair, which can even mean drainage pipes need to be replaced and can be very expensive. Design of the septic tank. Although the design of septic tanks differs, they all basically consist of a waterproof underground tank with 1 or 2 manholes or inspection holes, buried a few centimeters below the ground, to provide access for cleaning and inspections. Wastewater from the house flows into the tank through the inlet pipe near the top. It flows through an opening to an outflow pipe on the other side. The pipe may end in a large D-joint or a type of wall that prevents the effluent from flowing directly from one pipe to another. The incoming wastewater will be forced downwards with little water splashing, and the solids will be allowed to sink downwards. Outgoing effluent is drawn from several centimeters below the topping of floating debris, grease, oil, foam, so that only liquid debris liquefied by bacterial action, which occurs at the bottom of the septic tank, which occurs at a later stage, will return, released in the drainage unit. Sewage processing components. A typical domestic sewage treatment unit consists of a domestic sewage system, septic tank, distribution box, and leaching unit or sewer. Domestic sewer system, the pipeline connecting the house and the drain and septic system. Septic tank. Untreated liquid household waste, sewage, will quickly deplete your absorption unit, clogged if not treated properly. The septic tank provides this necessary treatment. When sewage enters the septic tank, the heavier solid particles will settle to the bottom of the tank, the lighter solid particles, fats, and greasy particles will partially decompose and rise to the surface and form a layer of foam. The solid particles that have descended to the bottom are broken down and form sludge. Septic tanks do not remove the bacteria, and these releases cannot be considered safe. Distribution box. Serve to distribute the flow of the septic tank evenly over the drainage unit or leaching well. It is important that each ditch or well receives equal amounts of flow. This prevents one part of the system from overloading. Absorption unit. A system of narrow ditches partially filled with a bed of washed gravel or crushed stone in which a perforated pipe or loose open pipes are placed. The emissions from the septic tanks are distributed through these pipes in the ditches and the surrounding ground. The underground absorption unit must be the right size and built correctly. While leachate wells require less soil for installation, they should only be used where absorption units are not suitable and contamination of borehole water sources is not a hazard. Disposal bath. Works in a similar way to the septic systems. Sewage leaches through an open bottom and partition gate holes on the sides. These holes can also become clogged with excessive use and the introduction of disinfectants and other materials that can reduce the bacterial action. When the sewer operation lags behind, homeowners simply leave the system empty. Pumping out the system will only ensure temporary relief. The clogged pores in the soil will continue to exist, and the system will have to be pumped out again and again. Maintenance of septic tanks. Since solids will accumulate continuously on the bottom of the tank, it is necessary to pump out the tank from time to time. Remember that sludge is not biodegradable and will continue to accumulate until it overflows. The frequency with which it is pumped out will depend on the amount of wastewater moving through the system on a daily basis. The effectiveness will also depend on how often excess fats, peels and other similar waste enter the drain be thrown off. The more solid waste is thrown into the system, the faster the tank will fill up. Heavy inflow of water will also tend to fill the tank faster. It is therefore better not to add rubbish to the system when working with a septic tank, and water should not run continuously in basins and toilets. Treatment of septic tanks. https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=pzzgz_kseti https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=6FRIU3-X0. It is important to clean the septic tank regularly to prevent the sludge levels from becoming too high and to ensure that the solid material at the bottom and the semi-solid foam at the top can still flow through to the drainage system. A situation can easily arise where the drainage pipes and also the soil in which they drain will become clogged. Make sure there are always live bacteria in your system. The function of the bacteria is to decompose the organic waste in the system. If there are no bacteria in your system, the tank will only serve as a storage tank for your waste. It becomes filled and natural decomposition will not be able to take place. This is when the system gives in. Bacteria are destroyed by https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=ebkwpzhox_m. Excessive amounts of detergents, laundry waste, bleaches, household chemicals and alkaline drain cleaners. Garbage waste mixtures that significantly increase the number of solid particles collected. Rinsing away items that are not biodegradable, plastic, etc. Flush away excessive amounts of grease and fats that are biodegradable but a specific bacterium needed to break it down. Rinsing away cigarette butts, sanitary napkins that are also biodegradable but not necessarily decomposable. Too many people using a smaller/inadequate or broken system. If you have no bacteria in your system and you add enzymes, it simply will not help, and the system will still not work. Enzymes are only a catalyst for bacteria. If there are no bacteria in your system, then why use enzymes? From time to time you will need to add a 100% natural and living bacterium to your system. Do not add any bacteria to your system but consult a professional septic system expert. Optional bacteria may be added, which means the bacteria can be with or without oxygen survive. Make sure you understand that bacterial action occurs especially at the bottom of the septic tank. An optional bacterium will not be useful in situations where there is air and no air, anaerobic conditions is not present. The bottom of the spicy tank does not have any free oxygen and will therefore need especially anaerobic bacteria. Pro-pump liquid live bacteria consist of cultures with optional and anaerobic bacteria. These bacteria are therefore manufactured as so-called friendly bacteria. The commercial potency of optional bacteria is non-harmful, non-corrosive, non-pathogenic. 100% natural, it is not a GMO or a mutation. Effective in aerobic and anaerobic conditions. Effective with or without light. Effective in environments with high or low acidity and low or high alkalinity. A shelf life of 3 to 5 years. Can be stored under all climatic conditions. When frozen, it retains its viability after thawed. Please note, your septic system does not pose any potential health hazards to you or your family. Accidents due to harmful gases have already taken place. All maintenance on your septic system should be discussed with your septic expert, and all other septic necessities should be done with such experts' advice before doing anything about it yourself.
Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more future educational videos.